Hello, this is me from the future, the past. This video is about what it was like to actually be a patient in hospital during the pandemic. So it's my experience only, but it gives you a picture of what it was like at that time. I have added the timelines, so you'll be able to move back and forth to the topics that interest you. And if you find this interesting, if you have any questions, please put in any comments down and I will respond to you. So have a great day, and here we are with my experience as a patient. Oh, my dog says hello. I thought I would talk a little bit about what it was like to actually have a heart attack during the pandemic. The heart attack happened March 3rd, 2021. So we were just starting the third wave of COVID. So it was a year in and a little bit. That was, if you watch the video about the actual heart attack, I was reluctant to go to the ER, not just because I was in denial, but also because hospitals were dangerous places during COVID. And I knew that they were overloaded with patients, so I didn't necessarily want to be there, be in the waiting room with sick people, and get a chance of picking up something while I was in the hospital. But we all know I ended up there. So I thought I'd tell you what it was like. So the first thing I noticed was, first thing in the morning after I had been admitted, is that the doctor came in my room and he stood about 6 feet from the end of my bed, masked up. So there was not much contact. So he was 6 feet away, explaining to me that he thought I'd had a Takotsubo, which I didn't, but they had to start with a certain point before having all the answers. But he was standing 6 feet away. And then after his 2 or 3 day coverage ended, I had a different doctor. And he also would stand, actually this one used to stand close to the door. So I was in a single room, which was another benefit of the pandemic, because when I was at the emergency room, they did a COVID test because they weren't sure exactly what I had, and I had been coughing. So they did a COVID test and I was being admitted right away. So they put me in a single room, a private room, as a precaution until my COVID test came back. And then they just left me there, which was great, until they needed my bed. Yes, so the second doctor stood near the door when he was talking to me. There's only one doctor who actually touched me, and she was covering, I think, on the weekend. And she came to see me, and she walked right in. She was masked, but she walked right in and stood next to me, next to my hospital bed, and was actually talking to me close and was asking me to describe what had happened. And she listened to my heart, and she actually pressed something, and I got actual chest pain when she pressed that. I don't know what she was doing exactly. It was all very confusing to me. And after a few more questions, she said, "I don't think you had a Takotsubo. I think you had a MINOCA." And at the time, I hadn't had time yet to look that up. She basically said that the problem was probably microvascular. And so the small vessels in my heart were causing me issues. And the actual heart attack, when you don't have any blockages. So I saw her after the angiogram, which showed that there were no significant blockages. So a heart attack with no blockages is called a MINOCA. So a myocardial infarction with non-obstructive coronary arteries. That's the last bit of technical info I'm giving you in this particular video. So I was quite happy to meet this doctor because she was listening, and she seemed to be on the right track according to what I was experiencing, or what I felt had happened to me. And fortunately, I was able to get her as my cardiologist for a year and a half. Very thankful, very, very thankful for that doctor. So other than that, the nurses were the only ones who touched us. And basically, they would touch us to put in an IV, to give us an injection, to take our vitals. And I remember one time the nurse changing my IV to another spot, and I just said, oh, like I just kind of touched her hand and said, oh, it's so nice to be touched. Like, because you start to miss that. There were monitors all around, up in the corners of this rectangular space around the nursing station. This was the space where we would get our exercise. So we would be walking basically in a loop around the nursing station. And they wanted us to do this for exercise. They wanted us up and walking. So everyone is plugged in with their little purse, green purse with the monitor in it. And the reason they have the monitors all around is so that basically wherever the nurse is standing, she's able to see your monitor if she's not in the nursing station where the is. So we were very well monitored. And the reason we couldn't go off the unit is because we would be out of bounds of the signal. If I wanted to have somebody bring me something, they would have to drop like clothing or food or personal items, drop it off at the main door of the hospital and make sure to have the right room number, and then someone would come and deliver it to the nursing desk on the unit. And I believed it was looked through. I don't think they worried so much about having us have any contraband. But now that I think of it, I think some people had things taken away that were like very salty, because in this hospital there is no salt anywhere. It's not allowed. So salt was like, if somebody would have brought me like a bag of chips or something, it probably would have been confiscated. But mostly we were able to keep our stuff, but it had to be like packaged up, I think, in a plastic bag. So the thing that was very hard for us to get was good coffee. Having been hospitalized at different time, I would usually try to ask someone who was coming to visit me to bring me a good coffee. And since I was not getting any visitors, that was it for the coffee. There were decaf packages of instant coffee in the little kitchenette of the unit, and that was really disgusting. I tried that one time. And we could have coffee with our breakfast. But to be honest, it was not very good coffee. It was very watered down. Well, I like my coffee dark and strong. And it was not good. And I remember, every time the nurses would come in, I'd say, oh, I really would love a coffee. Like, is there any way for me to get a coffee? Can someone get me a coffee? And I guess they felt sorry for me one day. somebody had gotten coffee for some of the staff, and they had an extra one that didn't belong to anybody, so they brought it to my room, and I was very grateful for that. There's a lot of restrictions. I was not allowed visitors. They did not have any volunteers, so even the volunteers who would pick up the gap if people didn't have visitors or if people needed support, we had no volunteers. We were given websites where we could have like mini courses on our conditions. Like they were like short webinar. I don't even know if they were webinars, but there would be one on discharge, and what happens when you leave the hospital. There would be another one about nutrition. There would be these different little, kind of like Zoom, but on a different system that would last about half an hour. And so you could do that on your own in your room. There was that. Whenever I didn't have to wear a mask in my room, but as soon as I got out of my room, I had to put a mask on. And I kept forgetting. I'd get out of my room and they'd say, put on your mask. So I would grab a mask from the nursing station, which was pretty close, and put it on. So I ended up with like a collection of masks in my room. Another part is once I was discharged and I was home, I was still not feeling well, and I ended up returning to the hospital a couple days later, 2 or 3 days later, and I had called 911. So the paramedics came, dressed in full PPE, yellow banana suits is what I would call them. I call them the banana people, because they were masked, full body suit in yellow, which was a little disconcerting. I'll stop this video at this point for today. And if you have had any bizarre experiences of being in the hospital during the pandemic, or a difficult time that you were in the hospital, I would love to hear it. So please feel free to share, comment if you have any questions. And again, you're not alone.